This is TresMusicos, recordings we did live at the Elephant Room a couple years ago. Thought I'd play a few of those tonight. This is Chris Marsh on bass. That was Mitch Watkins on guitar. All right. Little TresMusicos. That's Mitch Watkins on guitar, Chris Marsh on bass, and moi on drums, and playing some rockers. I think that's what they're called. Those, they look like, large broomstick, really tiny broomsticks, maybe bundled all together. Anyway, it's been a few nights since I've been on, and I've been working really hard on my day job, getting ready to do some business-oriented streams. But I wanted to come on and play a few tunes and tell you all about a cool show we're going to have tomorrow night. Steve Metter joined. Steve Metter is, for those of you who don't know, is one of the Austin legends from the 70s and 80s, and was just a huge influence on me as a musician and as a drummer and a mentor, and helping me into the scene and guiding me to really all the gigs that I got early on that really helped me grow and blossom as a player. And he taught me a lot about being a good musician. And so Steve was part of this great group called Passenger that was prominent in Austin in the 70s, the very beginning of the 80s, but they broke up and went different directions and worked with different people. They were still playing together a little bit when I moved to town about 1980 as a junior transfer to University of Texas. I got to see him a few times, sit in with them a little bit at this cool club called Copus that was on West 6th Street near what is Z Tejas, or was Z Tejas. I don't know if it's still there at this point. But it was a cool little club, and Mitch Watkins, who is the guitarist from Passenger, was actually playing bass at the time. Roscoe Beck, the bassist, had moved to California and was working a lot with people out there, including the great Jennifer Warnes and Bill Ginn. The keyboardist in Passenger was still around town and living in San Antonio, I think, at the time, and got to play with him some. Paul Ostermeyer, who lives in New York now, was the saxophonist at that time, and we became good friends and played together a lot, as I did, of course, with Mitch. And James Finner was the percussionist in that group, and James Finner is still in town, still doing great stuff, and we get to play together once in a while, including in a band called Fredonia with the great Christopher Cross, who we hope to do some more stuff with in the not-too-distant future. Anyway, I'm hoping to have Passenger on tomorrow night, and it looks like it's coming together. You never know until the absolute moment the stream goes out, if it's going to happen, especially with me, since the equipment sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But I'm thinking it will tomorrow night. But anyway, I want to play a few more tunes for you. This is not going to be a long one tonight. It's just me. But I wanted to share just a few TresMusicos pieces that I found when I was looking up some stuff on an old hard drive and things that I recorded live. And here's another video that we created at the club at the Elephant Room that my son Nate helped me shoot. And I recorded this, I don't know, about 2.5, 3 years ago. This is a tune by Mitch Watkins called Never. This stuff sounds better when you really turn it up, by the way. Always sounds better when you crank it. Hey, Andy Murphy, Carol Morgan, Paul Glass, Kathy Harper, Tom Breckline. How you doing, friends? Thanks for poking your head into the room for a minute. Good to have you here. All right. TresMusicos Never by Mitch Watkins. I'm always having issues with my audio. I'm going to have to talk to Andy. I don't know what it is about this setup, but I always put my headphones on and then I forget that if I have this monitor on over here or I have this iPad and I don't have it turned up, then stuff's going to still be playing. And, you know, it's hard to keep track of these things. It truly is. But, you know, live and learn. That's one reason to keep doing it, because you screw up enough times and then you really get tired of screwing up. So I'm going to play another one, one or two more before I sign off. But, again, I came on just to kind of let people know that in the next few days I've got a couple of cool ones coming up that I'm excited about, interviews. And again, one of them is the great group Passenger that some of you remember from the mid to late 70s and early 80s in Austin. Roscoe Beck, Mitch Watkins, Steve Metter, who was on a little bit earlier, Paul Ostermeyer. Rob Lockhart was in the band before Paul, and then Paul was in the band for a number of years and on saxophone, and Bill Ginn on keyboards, and James Fenner on percussion. It was a great band, and they famously went on the road with Leonard Cohen, and I don't know if they did more than one, maybe two tours as a complete band with him. They'll talk about that tomorrow night. But the different members of Passenger worked with Leonard for a number of years, and of course Roscoe Beck right up until the very end, and was a musical director for Leonard on a number of tours, and they all worked with a lot of great people over the years, and that's something that will be fun to talk about tomorrow night. But I do have some music from those years, recorded things that were never widely released A couple of clips from maybe Austin City Limits show that they did video that was pretty cool. You get to see what they look like when they were in their 20s, and some audio tracks that are just great. So join us tomorrow night, 7:30 or 8. I don't think we've nailed that down yet, but we're working on it. And then on Saturday, I have a good friend that I've known from my youth, meaning like way back in grade school. This guy from Borger, Texas, named John Bayless, who is a phenomenal sort of crossover classical pianist. He has done amazing things throughout his career, and he is most famous for an album called Bach Meets the Beatles, where he improvises in the style of Bach and the great classical piano masters. And in this setting, with this record, he improvised on the tunes, on famous Beatles tunes, those melodies in the style of Bach. That was a really cool record. But he did a number of other things. He was a protege of Leonard Bernstein's, and produced a number of really interesting, very original solo piano recordings. And now he lives in Arizona, and I think Arizona. He told me Arizona or California. He'll clear that up on Saturday night. But we're going to talk on Saturday night, and he's going to talk about not only his amazing career, but life after having a stroke and having lost the use of one of his arms. And now he has come back, and he is doing concerts with one hand, repertoire for one-handed piano, and in some cases, probably repertoire for two hands, but he uses one. He's a brilliant musician, and I look forward to talking with him on Saturday night. Let's see. Let's play another track from the TresMusicos date that I was covering. Is when did we record these? They were on March 8th, 2018. It was a really cool night. And here's a great ballad by Chris Marsh called Carousel. Carousel. Carousel by Chris Marsh. You know, Chris Marsh is an enormous talent. I know a lot of you have heard him, played with him, know him, but those of you who don't know of him, he's a pretty special dude. He's one of the bass players that I've worked with the most over the most number of years, and I don't know that there's anything better than for a drummer than getting to play with him. He is really a special musician and an interesting cat. He writes really cool tunes. He's got a number of records of his own, 3 or 4 anyway, I think, recordings. I think you can find them, like Christopher Cross always says, you can find them in garage sales everywhere. Nobody sells records anymore, do they? But if you can find a copy or find any of his tunes up on Apple Music or Spotify, because I think they are up there, they're certainly worth listening to. But the TresMusicos recordings from the last few years with Mitch Watkins, Chris Marsh, and myself are, of course, the superior versions of all of his material. I don't know if he would agree with that, but I stake that claim. I want to play another one of his right now. And I don't know how much we have left here. I've got to go to bed pretty soon, probably. But I don't know. This is fun. I like doing this. El Matador is a great number that we like to do, and it takes off. And this is another of Chris's songs. So this is kind of the TresMusicos Chris Marsh night. We started with a tune by Wayne Shorter called Footprints that we covered. And then we did a Mitch Watkins original called Never. And right now, and then we did Carousel by Chris, and we're going to do another one by Chris that he calls El Matador. I used to introduce this one on the gig that when Chris was growing up, he really wanted to be a bullfighter. But his mom made him take up jazz bass as a fallback measure. So that's pretty much how we set this up. So here's El Matador. All right, El Matador. Chris Marsh's original tune, El Matador. And again, that's Chris and I, and Mitch Watkins on guitar. Chris on bass. TresMusicos, a lot of fun. We played for, I don't know, a couple of years maybe. Actually, about 3 years. We played for a year at a place in Austin called the Brass House, which was next to a cool chicken place. The Brass House is no more. Most jazz clubs last about 2 years in Austin. With the rare exception of something like the Elephant Room, which has lasted 25, 27, something like that. But anyway, that's where we moved. Once we left the Brass House, we moved to the Elephant Room. We were looking for an audience of... We were trying to crack into 2 digits. At the Brass House, we kind of typically pulled in about 3 to 7.5, somewhere in there. And then we were looking to up our thing to maybe 10 plus. So we moved to the Elephant Room happy hour, and then we really started to really pull in people. Sometimes I think we had 25 one time there. So it's a good reason to get together and play and enjoy and beat some of the night traffic, but it finally just got too difficult, even in the middle of the day. You know, I mean, the late afternoon, 4:30 or so, I'd start to go to town. Elizabeth would come in and take Emma to ballet, and then I would go over to the Elephant Room and set up, and we'd play, and then they would come over and hang until we were done at 8 o'clock, and then we'd go home. But it started to get harder and harder and harder to get to town, and on a Thursday with my job, you know, I can't leave that early, regularly every Thursday. It was very hard for me to give that up because I love that gig. Just playing these tunes makes me miss it a lot. But at least we got the recordings to listen to, which is a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun in that band. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to play before we call it a night. Let me just take a peek at my phone here for a second. Anybody else out there got anything on their mind? There's a beautiful version of Jimmy Webb's tune, Wichita Lineman, that we used to do. I think I'll play that one. I got video of it. It's really not very good because the video quality is not very good because when we shot it, the cameraman zoomed in on the iPhone, and when you zoom, especially in low light, it pixelates really badly. But so maybe we'll just listen. I don't know. There's not that much to look at, so maybe I'll just play it. Wichita Lineman by Jimmy Webb, performed by TresMusicos. Mike McIntosh. There's Mike McIntosh, a good guitar player right here, watching this show. Mike is asking where you can get these recordings, and nowhere yet. But actually, as I've been digging them out and listening to them again and trying to do these mixes, we recorded all this stuff at the Elephant. I just brought a bunch of gear in and brought my laptop and mic'd everybody, and we recorded it. So we did about, I don't know, there's probably 15 different dates that we did this recording on. So with a variety of different tunes. So I'm going to try to come up with maybe, 10 or 12 or so nice versions of these things. And some of the ones you've heard, are some of the better ones. So I'm going to try to package it up into something that we can share with people, because I was really proud of that experience with these guys, whom I love very much. So I'm going to play Wichita Lineman, and then I think I may wrap it up for tonight. But I'm going to be back tomorrow night with Passenger, which is Roscoe Beck, Mitch Watkins, whom you've been hearing tonight, Paul Ostermeyer, saxophonist, Steve Metter, the great drummer, who was a mentor to me and really was probably, he and Mambo John Trainer were big influences on me, but Steve Metter was really the one that got me involved in the Austin music scene in a big way. He and Mitch, and I love these guys, and they've agreed to come on and kind of reminisce about the late 70s, early 80s Passenger years, maybe some of their time with James Polk, the great Dr. James Polk, and then also talk about their travels with Leonard Cohen, some of the work they did with Jennifer Warnes. We may have a special guest in addition to the four guys tomorrow night. We'll see. But I'm excited about that. And then on Saturday, we're going to talk to John Bayless. If you don't know about him, look him up. Brilliant crossover classical pianist with some real groundbreaking improvisational work that he has done throughout his career. And he's going to join us to talk about some of his music. We'll hear some of his music and talk about what he's been doing since recovering from a stroke and only having the use of one hand. And he's still playing, still putting out in concerts, which is pretty stunning. So anyway, here is Wichita Lineman by TresMusicos. Jimmy Webb's tune covered by TresMusicos. Forgot to say, Sean Giddings on piano joined us. Important voice. Can you believe that just happened? We're going to go back to the tune. That was Mitch Watkins. He called my phone. I forgot to put my phone on away. And he interrupted his own playing. He's going to laugh when he hears about that. Here, I'm going to go back to the tune. I got to shout out a hello to Chris Marsh. You're listening to Chris Marsh play bass on this. I don't know if he's still on. He may have come and gone in moments. But I did see his name. Love you, Chris. Miss you, man. You got to come on with me sometime and talk about some of this stuff and just talk about life and anything you want to talk about. Yeah, awesome. Man, I love that recording. Sean Giddings would sometimes come in and sit in with us. He still does with Chris and Mitch and Masumi Jones. They're still keeping it up down at the I say they were keeping it up down at the Elephant. We'll hope that they get back there soon. But God, who knows what's coming? We may have to just be doing a bunch of this. I may get Chris to come on and get his bass on that end. And I've been trying to figure out ways. There's got to be a way to have real-time audio over the internet. And I've heard about this company called Source Elements. I've kind of started to take a look at them. And they're used in television and film and recording. And they apparently can deliver real-time audio, ISDN, CD quality over the internet. So people can play a track in one city on a multi-track DAW and stream it to the other end in another city, and that musician or vocalist there can record their parts back over the web to be captured at the origin location, all in real time without any delay, which is mind-blowing to me that that's possible. And it probably cost a freaking fortune, but I'm going to check it out and see if there's a way to do it in an affordable way, and then get some of my bros on here and what's the female version of bro? Get some of my musician friends on to play music together. I sure would like to do that. I was talking to Red Young, organist, keyboardist Red Young. Some of you know about Red Young in Austin. Another great musician. We were talking the other night at great length about that idea of how to get on together and play in real time together and make music together. Because, as we wonder about coming out of this stay-at-home thing in this pandemic, clearly it's going to be a little time, even if all the governors and the mayors and the guy who thinks he's king all say, hey, it's time to go back to work. That doesn't mean people are going to go back to feeling the way they did. So who knows how much there's going to be an immediate return to a lot of in-person performances. But why can't the web help us deliver some of this stuff? Not just recorded versions like that, which is a lot of fun to do. It's kind of like radio, which is why I wanted to do this again. But also live performance, If we can do it with a conversation the way we're doing it over Skype, then it's got to be awfully close to being achieved. And I'll bet it can be achieved with audio. So I'm going to keep looking and trying to figure out a way to get that done and get my friends involved and other musicians and see what we can do to do some actually live performing for you. Anyway, once again, thank you everybody for coming on tonight. I always love hanging out with my friends on this platform that we all wish that we could just throw out of our lives and find something that isn't as intrusive as Facebook, and maybe we will. But for now, this is still where everybody is, so it's where I'm trying to reach you guys and share this stuff. And tomorrow night, again, it looks like I'm going to be joined by Mitch Watkins, who you heard a lot of tonight. Steve Metter, drummer Steve Metter, who was Austin icon, 70s and 80s, big part of this music scene. Roscoe Beck, the great Roscoe Beck, bassist, who has played with a lot of people. And his most recent thing he's known for is musical director for Leonard Cohen for his last multi-year world tour before we lost Leonard a few years ago. And Paul Ostermeyer, great saxophonist, lives in New York. He's going to join us, who is part of Passenger. And who did I miss? I got Steve, Roscoe, Mitch, and Paul. Bill Ginn, who passed away a number of years ago, was the keyboardist in Passenger. And, he's missed a lot and was a brilliant musician. When Sean joins us at TresMusicos back when I was doing that, and he would come in sometimes and join that trio, it always reminded Mitch and I and Chris a bit of Bill Ginn, one of the tastiest pianists that I ever worked with in all styles. And Sean is really kind of the next iteration of that type of player. He's really amazing. Maybe we can get him on sometime too, although he's sworn off Facebook. Anyway, thank you. And I think, I always like to end with one more pretty thing. I don't know, that was pretty darn pretty. You guys want to hear one more tune? Should I play one more tune? I think I will. And then I won't come back on. I'll just go out on one more tune. And we're not going to rock it. We're going to play something pretty. Let's see what that will be. Oh, I never heard that one. I didn't even know I recorded that one. Let's look back here. How about I don't know, should we jam one more? Should we jam one? Should we go out pretty or should we go out jamming something? Now there's a 15-second delay, so I'm not going to see your response for a minute, but either Mike McIntosh or Megan, my daughter Megan, one of you all tell me how we should take this out. Should we go out with another Chris Marsh original that just rocks or really goes fast, or should we go out with something gentle and pretty? So I'm going to sit here until you guys tell me what to do. Got a few options. I got a recording of Lil Darlin' with TresMusicos. I've got If It Be Your Will, which is beautiful. But of course, we'd still have Bigfoot, and we still have 24/7, and Relaxin' in Louisiana by Chris Marsh. Okay, jamming. Okay, so I think I'm going to play. I'm going to owe Chris Marsh a lot of royalties after tonight. I'm telling you, he's gonna ask for them too. Let's finish with Relaxin'. I love this Chris Marsh tune. It's not fast, but it definitely grooves. So I'm going to play Chris. Chris says, play me. I'm playing you, brother. I'm playing you. This is Chris Marsh's tune called Relaxin' in Louisiana. Turn your sound up loud. Turn your computer up loud. Stream it, Bluetooth it to your stereo and crank the crap out of it. You just need to rock this one, okay? Please. Yeah. That was so much fun, man. Oh, I could play that stuff all night. That's a blast. That was Chris Marsh. That's why I was showing pictures of Chris, all sweaty, playing his bass from his website. If you go to Chris Marsh, what's your web address, Chris? I don't understand that link. I think if you go to the web and you search Chris Marsh, you'll find it. But I don't recognize that URL. Yeah, just look up Chris Marsh Music, and you spell Marsh, Maresh, so that many people in Austin, well, not many, but some pronounce him Maresh. Chris Maresh. I know he loves that, but it's Marsh. I call him Martian because he's a Martian. There's some great video on the web of him playing, of course, with Eric Johnson. He did a record with Eric Johnson and Mike Stern a few years ago. And, the great drummer from the Letterman Show. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But cool record. And Chris had an original on that record, one or two. I think Bigfoot was on that record. We played Bigfoot a few nights ago, and when I get Chris back on, we're going to play Bigfoot again because I love Bigfoot. We have some good video of that, too. So anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining. Thank you for participating, for talking to me in the chat. I love it. Again, the name of that tune is Relaxin' in Louisiana by Chris Marsh. And whether or not you can find that anywhere other than me, I don't know. But maybe we'll just keep it that way so you keep coming back and hanging. Chris Marsh Music. To find out more about Chris, Mitch Watkins. I think he updated his website maybe sometime in the mid-'90s, so you could check that out. I update mine now and then I ignore it for great stretches of time. But I'm starting to put these on my little website, scottlaningham.com. And if you go to scottlaningham.com/SLRadio, you'll find archived episodes of what I've started doing a week and a half or so ago here on YouTube. And I don't have them all up there yet. I'll get more of them. Some of them I had to pull off of here because I was playing recorded music that is copyright protected. And, you know, I understand. God forbid that 25 and a half people listen to it on Facebook and, you know, the record companies don't get their cut. Of course, none of that makes it back to the artist anymore. But you know what? YouTube lets me post them. So I'm posting them on YouTube and then I'm posting them on my website. So you can hear them there. And thank you for sticking with me. I know early on I had too many things turned on and I had some crappy audio again, and I don't know why I do that every time. I run off people early, and then I finally figure it out later. But I think I've got it together this time. Tomorrow night, Passenger, Steve Metter, Mitch Watkins, Roscoe Beck, Paul Ostermeyer. And Saturday, John Bayless, classical pianist, crossover classical pianist, protege of Leonard Bernstein's, and an improviser, a guy who improvised in the style of classical greats on a variety of styles of music. He's a really interesting pianist. And now he plays with one hand because he only has the use of one hand, and he's still doing it. So come and check out. Mike says, what time tomorrow night? I think we're targeting either 7:30 or 8 p.m. Central Time with Passenger. And then on the same kind of thing on Saturday night, probably around 7:30. And once I get that nailed down with the guys, I may put some kind of, I'll put a note here on Facebook and let people know. And, you know, in the long run, if you guys would like to get an email alert when I'm going to do one of these, then I've got an email newsletter that I can use to let people know about these. So I'll post that as well on Facebook. And if anybody wants to sign up for that thing, and you'd get, one email a month from me, maybe, if I'm remember to do it. But I will do that and share little alerts with you when I've got something cool coming up. Some of these I just do impromptu, like tonight. I'll just turn it on, I'll start playing tunes, and Mike says, please send emails. Mike, you're the only person left on the planet who wants email. Oh, actually, you may be at the forefront of a resurgence. I think email's on the comeback. I think people are sick and tired of too much real-time communication, texting, slacking, all the things that interrupt our lives. I think email is probably a beautiful thing. It probably feels like the Pony Express to a lot of people right now. Oh, that's right. You can sign up for alert on Facebook when you go live, says Jeff Thomas. Jeff Thomas, trumpet player. Used to work with Jeff years ago at the county line when they would have barbecue and we'd play big band music out there. Man, was that fun. Paul McKee and I would play with Jeff out there. To do the Facebook thing, I have to post it ahead of time. And then, yes, you can click and get a reminder. That's actually a good idea, Jeff. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know, though, if I can remember to do it. See, you have to remember to do it in order for people to be able to get a reminder, which, whatever. Yeah, Michael O'Connell, old friend of mine from IBM. He was talking about I used to be a newsletter editor, and that's why I think about things like email newsletters. But anyway, I'll post it. You guys sign up for it if you want. If I see a few people signing up for it, then I'll start putting those things out so you know this thing is coming. So come on back tomorrow night if you can. I'll post in the afternoon for sure if it's happening and when it's happening. But Passenger tomorrow night, John Bayless on Saturday. Thanks for hanging out tonight. digging on TresMusicos with me. And Chris Marsh is going to join me in the not-too-distant future, and Mitch Watkins. And we're going to talk about TresMusicos some more and play more tunes for you, okay? Love y'all. Take care.